Most German soldiers did not hate the M1 Garand because of its sound, or its weight, or even its accuracy, but because of the terrifying realization that the man carrying it could keep shooting while they were still trying to chamber their next round. And in the violent, confusing seconds of a close engagement, that difference did not feel like a technical detail. It felt like a death sentence. When American forces began arriving on the battlefields of North Africa and later Europe with the M1 Garand as their standard rifle, they brought with them something no other army had managed to achieve on such a scale. An infantry force in which every single rifleman could deliver fast, repeated, accurate fire without breaking his position, without lowering his weapon, and without that small but fatal pause that bolt-action rifles demanded between shots. For a German infantryman trained on the Karabiner 98K, a rifle that was precise, reliable, and deeply respected, the rhythm of combat had always followed a familiar pattern. Fire, move the bolt, reacquire the target, fire again. But against American troops, that rhythm collapsed, because the return fire did not come in spaced, predictable shots. It came in a continuous stream that forced men to the ground and kept them there, turning movement into risk and hesitation into survival. The numbers behind this difference were cold and mechanical, yet on the battlefield they became something intensely personal. Because a skilled American rifleman could send 40 or more aimed rounds downrange in a minute, while his opponent struggled to reach half that rate. And every extra shot was another chance to hit, another moment of suppression, another invisible pressure pushing the enemy closer to defeat. This advantage was not simply about firepower, it was about control. Because the unit that could maintain uninterrupted fire dictated the tempo of the fight, decided when the enemy could move, when he had to stay down, and when an assault could begin. And the M1 Garand gave that control to ordinary soldiers in a way no previous standard-issue rifle ever had. German doctrine had always centered its infantry squads around the machine gun, the true heart of their battlefield power, with riflemen acting as support and protection for that weapon. But the American approach reversed that relationship, building its tactics around the individual rifleman. And the Garand transformed that idea from theory into brutal reality. In sudden encounters, a patrol stepping over a ridge, a squad emerging from morning fog, a fight in the shattered streets of an Italian town, the side that could fire the fastest without losing accuracy often decided the outcome in seconds. And again, German veterans described the same moment of shock, the same disbelief at the speed of the incoming fire, the same desperate attempt to respond with a weapon that physically could not keep up. Germany tried to answer this threat with its own semi-automatic rifles, first the G41 and later the Gewehr 43. But by the time these weapons began reaching the front, the war had already shifted into a struggle of production and resources that the Reich could no longer win. And the contrast became almost symbolic. Millions of Garands flowing steadily from American factories, while German soldiers continued to rely on a design rooted in another century. The psychological impact of the M1 Garand was almost as powerful as its firepower, because facing an enemy who could shoot faster, reload faster, and maintain constant pressure created the feeling of being outmatched before the fight had even truly begun. And in war, that feeling spreads quickly, shaping how soldiers move, how long they hold their ground, and how much they are willing to risk. The famous metallic ping of the empty clip became part of battlefield legend. Yet it reveals more about fear than reality, because it suggests men desperately listening for a brief pause in the storm of fire, hoping for a moment of weakness, when in truth, the chaos of combat drowned out such details, and any vulnerability was rarely visible to those pinned under relentless gunfire. By late 1944, Germany possessed advanced weapons that could rival the Garand, but they existed only in limited numbers within an army still built around bolt-action rifles, while American infantry units, armed almost entirely with semi-automatic firepower, continued to dominate sudden, chaotic engagements. In the end, what German soldiers hated was not just the rifle itself, but what it represented. An enemy whose industry, doctrine, and technology had aligned perfectly, turning ordinary infantrymen into a decisive force on the battlefield.